How y'all doing? I'm Paul Ryan, your host of the Across the Cowboys podcast. If you're new to the show, thank you for joining us. And to our regular listeners, welcome back. With me, as always, is my co-host, the greatest co-host in the world, Mike The Pig Crum. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing good. The flip you have to put on from knowing what's going on from like I hate the stupid 49ers and the minute like the clock hit zero, I was like, okay, go Niners, because I know who they're facing, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm Team Niners over Team Eagles for sure. So yeah, it's rough, but when the injury happened, it kind of was like, okay, we ain't winning nothing without that guy anyway. This kind of, might have been you always want to move on, but I don't know if we could beat the Eagles without Pollard, and having to do that, having to like walk into that knowing that Zeke was running back one and he's like, so, might have been a blessing in disguise. We didn't end up coming back and winning that, because I don't know if without Pollard we could beat the Eagles. So that would have been a really rough game.
Yeah, Mike, I just remember last night it's like the fourth quarter, there's about 30 seconds left, and in my heart of hearts I know it's over. And we're doing that final drive, and I think it's about the final play, and I just go and I grab my son. I pick him up. I'm kind of holding him. I'm like, okay, son, here it is. Here's the last play. And it was over, but, I'm here. I am going to play with my son. He's smiling. He's laughing. And it's like, there's bigger things than football. Like in the past, that would have just ruined my day. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to be around anybody. Probably ruined my week, maybe even a couple of weeks. But the game ends and I get to go and I get to have my grandma's tacos, my sister, my little cousin. Shout out to Abby, shout out to Princess. They came over and they cooked tacos for everybody that was at the house, and so I got to think about my nana and I got to spend time with family. And the game sucks, but it's nice to know that there's more to life than just a Cowboys win or loss.
Yeah, it's crazy, because by that time I had given up. I could kind of, about 5 minutes left. Like when we got the ball back with 3 minutes left, I literally tweeted out like, I have zero confidence that Dak could do anything against this defense. Like I did.
Yeah.
And then the very next play, he almost throws a pick six to end it. Like, it was hard to watch that defense play so hard, and just you could see them. It was like Boromir when he's fighting the Lord of the Rings and he keeps taking arrows and he's like, somebody help, like, please, I'm taking like 6 arrows over here. I'm like falling apart. Can somebody like help me a little bit? And he just couldn't get no help. It was hard, but I have a lot of Niner fans around me, and other than the manager was kind of a dick about it, but the rest of them were all like, they know I don't talk crap, so they didn't say anything. I sent them right away. I said, hey, I hope y'all whoop Philly's ass, and for the most part, minus Mod, it was kind of an asshole, but minus him, nobody else like talked smack, anything like that. So that was cool. And then I kind of went on right to, I got a job to do. Like, I went right into, KD said I could do a thing about evaluating like each guy, keep them, re-sign them, why not, and what you would do with that. So I'm going to work on that, and hopefully people at least enjoy reading that. I know it sucks. It's not what we wanted, but I got a bunch of draft guys to look at now. I know corner, DT, O-line, receiver are going to be my main, and running back are going to be my main focuses. I don't know how much QB, tight end, safety, edge rusher are going to be in Dallas's plans. They're pretty loaded up. So, I have my areas that I'm going to look at, and I've already got players started. And so it was just kind of work. Let's go. Time to get to work. Hope they can beat the Eagles. And then I'm Team AFC. Like, whoever wins NFC, I'm going to be going for Cincy or KC. So
yeah,
it happens.
I'm looking forward to the off season, Mike, because we always have so many great guests, especially on building the Cowboys.
I know. I hate all of them. I don't want any guests. I hate everyone. I hate all those people. Burn in hell, all of you.
Ouch.
No, I want you all on. You're all awesome.
I'm looking forward to mock drafting, Mike. I'll tell you that.
Bro, the what's with the draft network? Nothing comes up. Like I go to the draft network and you can't even do a mock draft. You can't sign in.
Apparently, they're doing a lot of work to the side, especially to the mock draft simulator. Apparently,
well, get it done, dude. I don't want to. I love Dalton's Pro Football Network, so I've been using that. Yeah. I don't want to use no PFF. That one's trash. They always have people all wrong and shit.
I've never used PFF. The Draft Network I feel is not Draft Network, but the one with Dalton works with. That's a pretty good one.
Yeah, that and Draft Network are the two I'll rotate back and forth with. I like both of those.
Yes, sir. All right, Mike, before we get into our discussion tonight, to let the people know where they can find you on Twitter.
At CD Piglet, guys. And before this guy can get into it, I didn't need anything but the same crap because I got stuck at work all day and I was annoyed. My team lost, and I hate Monday and meatless, and I want to eat bacon. That's what I want. All right, I want to be fat and depressed and eat bacon all day. But I had a pizza. All right, a cheese pizza. That's what I had.
There you go. Guys, I'm Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. Well, Mike, you had cheese pizza for Meatless Monday, so at least you kept it meatless today, right?
Yes, I did. Yes. So thank goodness.
Any plans for dinner?
That was it. That's what I had for dinner. Morning was just some BS.
I got you. Okay, Michael, well, let's just get right after it, sir. Did this loss hurt more than last year's?
Not for me, because I felt like the team showed up this year to play. Like last year, I felt like they got punked, and the game wasn't really as close as a final drive. It was more about Kyle Shanahan kind of shit in the bed with his decisions that kept the game close. This game felt like we could compete with the 49ers defensively and special teams. And our quarterback didn't have a very good game, unfortunately. So I just want to say, getting into this, I'm a Dak guy. I love Dak Prescott. If you're a guy that thinks like Dak is a backup quarterback or something, I'm not with you. And I hear the people, because I'm going to get at Dak this game. He did not have a good game. I've already watched all 22. And as a Dak guy, I'm going to have to go after him this game. And it's unfortunate. But I want to let you guys know, I know the GM didn't set him up well. I get it. I get that we need more pieces. I get that, they didn't go all in like we want. I get that Kellen Moore is not perfect. And I get all the stuff around it. I know that Dak is a good QB. This is not a crap on Dak's career here. Very, very poor game. Like, he had a bad game. And I'm going to get on him throughout this podcast about that bad game. But going forward after this game, there's a divide that has to happen, and we have to understand that as fans. We have to know that either two things has to happen. Either this front office has to realize, hey, we got a good QB, but he's not winning unless we stack a roster like San Francisco or like Philly or like Cincinnati, that he either is going to get a stacked roster, or if they want to be the front office that they have been and kind of nickel and diamond and stuff, then they got to risk and go and try to find a Mahomes or a Burrow or one of those type of, maybe Trev Lawrence, maybe Herbert type, that will be able to overcome, 5, 6, 7 years in, overcome the stuff that they don't have, and that's a divide that we've reached now. So right now it's going to be about Dak Prescott. It just is. This game has to be. But going forward, knowing what we know, there's not going to be the niceness of how we let them like get rid of Amari Cooper and get rid of linemen and bring in, Tolberts and James Washingtons and stuff like that. If they try to saddle us with that again, we have, as a fan base, has to stand up and go, okay, then rebuild it. If that's how you want to be, then rebuild, then die it out. Trade Dak Prescott, get a couple picks. You're not going to do enough for him to win. And I'll go over it in this as the thing goes on. But for us Dak guys, today's going to be a tough episode. And I'm just warning you right now. For the people who are Dak haters and think like, oh, you can never win with him, this and that, you're stupid. The guy's a good quarterback. He's just not great. He's not upper echelon. He's not one of those guys who can win no matter what you put around him. He's not that. But there's not a lot of those. So, it's about doing what you got to do with the guy you have.
So, I mean, Mike, when you think about how Dak performed yesterday, I mean, even with a stacked roster, do you think we win that game?
Man, it's okay. Again, here's the thing. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Watching the All 22, Dak Prescott should have led this team to a victory. If T.Y. Hilton is even looked at in this game, we probably scored 2 more touchdowns. I mean, he was getting open all game. So while I'm going to say this front office didn't do enough as far as looking forward, could they have won this game with what they had? Yes. Now, here's why I say that. He didn't have a rapport with T.Y. Hilton because we didn't get him at the beginning of the year. We didn't go get a guy that could work like that. So he wasn't looking for him. He was missing the reads. He was missing him out there. Now, that's on Dak. That's not on if T.Y. Hilton's getting open and the quarterback doesn't see him, that's on him. What's on the GM now going forward is that they go, okay, we know that he wants to go to guys. He gets a rapport with Schultz. He has a rapport with Lamb. Even at the end when he's throwing up the shots or when he gets in trouble, he tries Gallup. He tries Gallup. He tried to hit Gallup on the interception play. Hilton was open by 7 yards. Nobody was around him. He never even saw him. He throws it to Gallup, who even if he finishes out his route, the defender's right. Like the best you got is Gallup can maybe knock the ball away. Like the corner was cut. So if you just look the other way, almost every time the Niners were running cover 3 when Hilton was playing, he was open. I mean, he was just they would back off into the cover 3, he would cut it off, 5-yard separation, pitch and catch. They just didn't see him. So that's on Dak. Now going forward, the front office has to know that and go, look, we need to get guys ahead of time, not wait till week 16 and go, oh shit, we messed up. We shouldn't have got rid of Amari Cooper. We need another guy. We don't have a guy. Okay, bring in Hilton and hopefully he works out. Because he didn't. I mean, they hit the 3rd and 30 play. They hit 1 or 2 plays underneath, but for how often Hilton was open in this offense, they just didn't have that connection. And so that's the front office job now is to re-sign Hilton. So re-sign him. So he has all off season to work with Dak. They can get a connection. Then next season, they can work. They've worked together all off season, and they have the whole season to build in that chemistry the way Lamb and Dak has done, the way Gallup did before his injury, the way he was with Cedric Wilson. So it's a bummer because if we have T.Y. Hilton or a guy like T.Y. Hilton or Amari Cooper from the beginning with this offensive line, with this set of 3 tight ends, with this defense, do I think we beat the 49ers? I do. I think you beat them. I mean, there was enough there. The defense, the special teams, they played well enough. And I know I'm getting into a rant here, but I want to make sure people understand that I know Turpin, probably should have scored on that return. He moved it the wrong. I get that. like Jeff Kavanaugh says, you get in the tournament, and then a lot of it's like a bounce here, a bounce there. Trayvon Diggs could have picked a ball out that bounced, in his hands that would have kept the Niners from scoring. Turpin could have scored on a play. Dak could have led CeeDee Lamb a little bit better. Maybe he scores a touchdown on that play. There was a lot of that. Like, this team was really close to beating a really good Niners team. But in that also, and that was Dak's fault, but in that also, that roster in San Francisco is a lot better than ours. It just is.
Stacked.
They, and we're going to get into it, but like the defense eventually gives up the drive in the second half, right? 91 yards, I think it was.
96.
It was 96. Okay. I thought it was 91. They had a penalty, but they give up a big drive, right? An over 90-yard drive. But again, eventually a team that has Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, McCaffrey, Mitchell, a team that has all that is going to get every defense in this modern NFL where you can't hold and destroy somebody over the middle. Every defense is going to get got once or twice in a game. It just is when you're that loaded. So going in, you have to know, like, we have to load up our offense to do the same against the Niners defense. And while there were misses, you shouldn't have to play perfect in order to win a playoff game. Like, Dak could have hit Lamb. Dak missed Hilton a few times. Dak threw a couple bad interceptions that the receivers' routes weren't great on. They weren't connected perfectly. The defense gave up a big drive. Like, when your roster's not as good, you have to be perfect. And that's where micro Dak, I'm with you. I get it. Macro, the GM. Dak's only been around 7 years. We've been failing for almost 30. So, it's going to be a mix of that. It's going to be a mix of me going Dak. And then, but remember, going forward, GM.
What do you think it is that led Dak to having this game? What do you think he was rattled? I mean, if you were to guess, obviously we're just guessing, but what do you think it was, Mike?
He was worried about the O-line, and so he was quick through his reads, and he seemed like he was he was progressing like through them quickly, but not well. He wasn't reading things well because he was trying to progress through his reads too fast, and when you take a big injury like he has, last 2 years he's been injured, or 2 of the last 3, but the calf strain coming back, he's been injured a lot. So I think he's worried about taking hits. And so he sees a little bit of ghost out there against teams that bring a lot of pressure, like the 49ers do.
I understand that it's Dak's 7th year and his 4th playoff game, but should we have expected him to win that game? I mean, prior to the all 22?
Expected, no. When I watched it, and we're going to talk about the Tony Pollard injury, but when Tony Pollard went out, you kind of looked around and went, okay, Dalton ain't getting open against these linebackers. Like, he just isn't. You got to scheme a play where you fool somebody to think it's a run for him to even get a catch. CeeDee Lamb is a absolute stud of a monster wide receiver one. He's everything. He turned into everything we wanted him to be. Then what? Then what do you have if you don't have Pollard? I mean, we'll talk about it going on. We can get into the show sheet, but I don't want to unload all the clips before we even ask the next question,
Okay, so, Mike, we kind of got a bit off track there. I didn't want to force anything, but you look at Kellen Moore's game plan. Do you feel like it was a little bit too conservative?
I don't want to put the blame on Kellen Moore for this one.
No, not at all.
While I don't mind them firing him, I think I would have they and the shots that they had deep, they won. The receivers won, And on the Lamb one, Dak underthrew. On the other play to Lamb, where it was where Fred Warner was covering him, T.Y. Hilton was wide open. He won his seam route, and that's where the ball should have went. Like Michael Gallup was open, and it was just a bad throw on his deep ball. So maybe we could have said, hey, why didn't you take more shots? I think they were scared of that offensive line. But at some point in the game, you should have realized, like, Nick Bosa's not really doing anything. Armstead's not really doing anything. Like, there was one sequence in the red zone where Bosa played really good, and he beat Tyron Smith twice in a row. And minus that, he didn't do much. He caused a holding penalty in the first drive against Tyler Smith, and really couldn't get by him. Like, Tyler Smith was pretty friggin' spectacular in that game. So yeah, maybe the other thing is it's hard to blame Kellen Moore when he could point out stuff like, well, I got Lamb open. Why wasn't underthrown? I got T.Y. Hilton open for a touchdown right up the seam. Why was it thrown to CeeDee Lamb? Yeah. During cover 3, Hilton's open all game. I can't make the throw to him for him. So while, you could say he was conservative, I think this was more about the QB than the offensive coordinator. And that's coming from somebody who's A-okay with Kellen Moore being fired. I totally get bringing in a new guy and going, it just isn't, for whatever reason, it isn't working with Dak, and we're too financially obligated to Dak. So he's not going anywhere. So who do you get rid of? Kellen Moore. I'm totally fine with that. But I'm not going to blame this game on him. He was a little bit too conservative. I understand.
Yeah, it's just, for me, Mike, I haven't watched y'all 22, but I didn't understand why we didn't take more shots downfield. Of course, I understand that there's some plays that Dak missed, but I was surprised that his yards per attempt was less than 6 yards.
Yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of that was the worry about that 4-man rush and just getting the ball out. But it's different. Again, we're going to go back to this GM thing. You know what Deebo Samuel's yards per I'm going to say the wrong one. Yards per target is like under 5 target. And then he gets the ball, and his yards per catch is awesome because he can break tackles and everything. We don't really have that. Like, even Lamb, who's a stud wide receiver 1, isn't that type of guy. Mm-hmm. And again, it goes to the GM. Like, where's been your look throughout what's winning? Kansas City, Tampa, Rams. Where's your guys that can catch and get loose with yak? Where is that? And really great O-lines. Now, ours is building up. It could be something really good in a year, but for this year, it was short of what it needed to be.
And I don't want it to come across as though I'm blaming Kellen Moore for this game, because I'm definitely not. But I was kind of surprised by that, because we talked about it on Friday that the San Francisco the 49ers secondary was beatable.
Yeah, and I understand early. Hey, let's see what they're gonna do. Get the ball out, but going into like that, at some point, like a halftime, they should have came out and go, look, this offensive line's doing what it needs to do. Let's give them a couple of more big shots.
Yeah.
And they did. I mean, the big shots were in the second half, basically, but maybe they should have caught that earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing, you mentioned Tony Pollard, Mike, he goes down. Of course, that's probably the most explosive playmaker on our offense. What do you think losing Pollard meant to this team?
It exposed 2 things real quick. One, Zeke's done, guys. Like, I love him, but he is done. That offensive line was opening holes versus that Niners defense. There were holes that Tony Pollard gets 6 to 8 yards in that Zeke was getting 1 to 2 yards. And so no matter what the restructure, the Dak loves him, whatever, you can't pay him to be on your team next year. You can't. You would be better off. Malik Davis will help you more on the field than Ezekiel Elliott would, and that's coming from a Zeke. That's what makes it so sad. Is the Dak,
Zeke.
Yeah, the Dak Zeke era. They came up together and everything, and they should be done after this. There's no possible way you can justify bringing Zeke back at any cost. And for the people on the Twitter timeline that are like, we got to trade Zeke. Nobody's trading for Zeke. You're going to get a 2035 7th round pick. That is the best you could do for Ezekiel Elliott. His contract is enormous, and he's not a good football player anymore. He's a bad football player overall now. And so that was the first thing. And then the second thing is that it exposed that the GM didn't do enough to get the team weapons around, because your team should, if the 49ers are great, and this year they played games without Trent Williams, without Debo, without Kittle, I think without Ayuk. They got Christian McCaffrey week 7, and the offense was still great because they had once one guy left, your offense wasn't like, oh shit, we'll just double that guy then. And Lamb still went 10 receptions for over 100 yards. But basically that was it. The minute Tony Pollard went, the Niners defense is looking over at Lamb like, that's the guy they got. That's it. Let these other guys do whatever the hell they want. As long as you stop him, you'll win.
And I was surprised. I remember when Pollard went down, I was sitting there where, I was watching the game with my my father-in-law, and I was like, sitting here running. I'm like, man, they have to be carrying at least 3 running backs. Where's Malik Davis? He never got the ball. That was kind of strange.
Yeah, Zeke got 10 carries for 26 yards. Like that's point. Like, our defense shut down the run. Like, they kicked ass most of the game. And McCaffrey went for 3.5 yards, and Debo, I think, was also like 3.4 or 3.5. Yeah. Like, at least that's like, you run it 3 times, you have a chance to get a first. 2.6 is you run it twice and you're in 3rd and long. Like, it was bad. Like, he doesn't. And you would think, well, yeah, the Dallas offensive line isn't great. Niners defensive line. No, that there were holes to run through. I promise you, I watched. There were holes to get big chunks in, and he was getting stopped after 2-3 yards.
So, even with Pollard, do you think this Dallas team had the pieces to win this game?
Okay, so this is another one of those, this game compared to, we're going to talk about, the future of the team. This game, it really did. They left the Dak Prescott left a lot of meat on the bone the way he played. Just looking at Hilton, just having Hilton as your second read or third read, you probably score 2 more touchdowns. He was just open. He just got open. So Lamb had 10 receptions. You'd have Tony Pollard to help you a little bit with the run. Dalton Schultz is not very good versus teams like Niners that have linebackers like that, but he got you a touchdown pass. Maybe he gets 1 or 2 more touchdowns. They had enough to win this game. Now, macro level, bigger. The front office has no excuse from now on. You know now what you need. This nickel and dimey stuff, not going to work. Not offensively. You can try to piecemeal it defensively with the young stars you have. You have guys that you're not paying a lot, like Diggs, and Clark is going to be good, and Dorrance Armstrong, and Osa, and obviously Micah Parsons, and Mukwamu. You got guys there. So you can piecemeal it around those until you got to pay some of those guys. Yeah. On offense, you got to go get people. You need to improve the offensive line. You need at least 1, maybe 2 pass-catching weapons. So now there's no excuse. The GM knows we got a good quarterback that's not good enough to beat these great teams. We need to be a great team so that our quarterback can compete the way Brock Purdy and Jalen Hurts are able to.
It just, we'll go off the show sheet here, Mike, but I'm kind of thinking about it based on what you're saying. Just in the McCarthy era, do you think that this front office has done enough to help Dak?
No. The first, you look at it. Okay, so let's go
CeeDee
under
Lamb,
McCarthy.
Tyler Smith.
Let's start with under McCarthy. They Christopher Nolan. Or Christopher Nolan. What the hell is the terrible
Kellen Moore?
No, defensive coordinator from the first year where they had like the worst defense.
Oh God, yeah.
His
Mike
boy. Yeah. He comes up with the worst defense in the world. No matter how good your offense is, not going to matter. So then the next year, your O-line is terrible. They give up 31 pressures in the playoff game. Like, that's ridiculous. You have the weapons around them, but your defense is just middle of the pack. It's up and coming. And your O-line is bad. It's below average, bottom 10. I don't care what metrics PFF says, because you have Tyron, who plays good overall, and Zach Martin, who plays good overall. So it boosts them up. But that line was no good. 31 pressures in the Niners game last year. So then the O-line is about middle of the pack now. It's getting better. Your defense has gone to top of the pack.
Yeah.
And you take away Amari Cooper, Lyle Collins, like you lessen what's around Dak Prescott, and then you don't do anything real and substantial other than hope to bring that back. So, I'm excusing them because the honest truth is the NFC had a downward year this year. And with Brock Purdy and Jalen Hurts and those two teams, if Pollard's healthy and Dak is seeing T.Y. Hilton with this defense, they have a real shot to make a Super Bowl. Legitimately do. But going forward, you know what the Niners are going to be. You know what the Eagles are going to be. Green Bay's probably going to reload. Detroit's up and coming. Like, you could see that you're going to need to build up a roster. So if you go again and nickel and dime everything to death and bring in another James Washington type, or get some vet tight end to be cheaper and do what Schultz does instead of going and getting a dynamic guy, it's going to be a problem. You're going to have to be called out for it. You know what this is now. You know what your quarterback is and isn't, and he's shown it to you 7 years. He's very good. He's not great. So build a team around him like the other teams with quarterbacks they're not sure of. Remember when they built the team for Jalen Hurts, they were keeping 2 picks for next draft just in case.
Yeah.
Purdy, they didn't know what the hell he was. Mr. Irrelevant. So they built a great roster around Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo. So do that. And for the people that go, oh, Dak makes too much money, tell that to Tampa Bay and Kansas City and Buffalo and all those other teams that pay their quarterback and still bring people in. Don't give the Cowboys front office that excuse. That's lame. Dallas's contract, the Dak Prescott's contract isn't even that bad anymore when you consider what Watson's going to get, what Lamar's about to get. So stop making the excuses for the front office. They need to get more weapons around, and Dak should have played better and won this year. Both things are absolutely true.
It's safe to say probably a Patrick Mahomes wins that game yesterday. A Joe Burrow wins that game. But what about a Josh Allen? Do you think Josh Allen wins that game?
Not Josh Allen. Here's the. I don't know if we're coming up on a question about what this game means for Dak is somewhere in here. And what I'll do is I'll jump ahead to it since it kind of fits here. What this game did for Dak is it kind of cemented him for now, until he changes it, into a tier structure. So the people that think he's Carr and Cousins, watch the Tampa Bay game. Carr and Cousins can't do that. So is he above those? The Carr, the Cousins, the Kylers? Yes, he's above those guys. Then there's a tier that he's in, but it's like a tier that's like, okay, yeah, he's in that tier, but he's lower in that tier. So, like, Josh Allen's in that tier. But Josh Allen has better mobility and a cannon arm. So, does Josh Allen need more to win than Mahomes, Burrow? Hell, maybe Hurts. We don't know. He has a great team. Maybe Brock Purdy. We don't know. He has a great team. But there's the guys we know, Mahomes and Burrow. Burrow can lose 3 offensive linemen. And yes, he has great receivers, but I'm saying Dak had great receivers last year. His offensive line wasn't great, didn't work out. Burrow's offensive line loses 3 guys. He's got the receivers. He's like, I'll take care of it. It's fine. There's that level of guy. And for right now, you got to put like the Hurts in there because he's there. He's winning right now. He's winning with what he has. Until you see him get money and the roster depletes and then he doesn't do as good, he is where he is. There's this range where Dak is in this tier, and it's like, yeah, he's in that tier with Herbert, Allen, guys like that. But would I rather have Herbert because he's younger and he has kind of a better arm and a little bit more mobile? Probably. I could say I'd rather have Herbert on his upside. I'd rather have Allen on his upside, even though he's in that tier with him. So he's kind of cemented his tier as he's not in the one with Cousins and Kyler and Derek Carr. They've got to do more to get up into the tier with Dak and Josh Allen and Herbert and guys like that. But he's clearly right now not going to touch that higher level of that tier up into the tier with the really great quarterbacks. And that's kind of what fair. Yeah, and you can still win with that. But I don't know right now if this quarterback and our team's philosophy can win together. You either have to go all in and do what teams did for Brady, Matthew Stafford, or Jalen Hurts now, Brock Purdy on accident because he was the third string, but they were kind of doing it for Lance and Garoppolo.
Yeah.
You either have to do that and go, we don't know about our quarterback, go all in, or you've got to go risk being trash and go, we got to risk it because we need a Burrow or Mahomes because our team's not going to play in free agency and trades like that. If Jerry Jones is going to be the way he's been and go with the James Washingtons and the lower in guys that are more of hope, then Dak's not going to be the guy for you. So that's one thing that has to get decided there.
You said something about Joe Burrow, losing 3 offensive guys, kind of having that mentality, I got this. I know mental toughness is never a question with Dak. His mental strength isn't a question, but do you think there's something there mentally as far as maybe the moment getting to him?
I think when the offensive line is great, he's great.
Yeah.
We haven't had a great offensive line in a long time. So when he plays teams he knows really well in division, typically. The last Commanders game that's nothing. They weren't even trying. But other than that, in division he does well. But if you look when he struggles, it's typically teams that can get at him with the pass rush, and he has to worry about the pass rush. Oakland a couple years ago. Buffalo, Niners twice now. Green Bay has had some fierce pass rushers over the last in his era, in Dak's era. So when Dak is worried about the O-line, he'll see some ghost and he'll go through his reads too quick and he'll miss things.
Yeah.
And that's just who he is right now until he shows he can be better than that.
Kind of feel like he's on almost like that Peyton Manning career arc where people always question if he could win the big game. He always met with Brady, could never get it done, and then he finally gets it done. But I feel like he's on that kind of path.
I would hope so. I don't know if he's that quality of quarterback.
No, I'm not saying he's the same type of quarterback. I'm just saying he's on that kind of path.
Yeah, if he were to win in the next 2 years, he would have taken the Peyton Manning path.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Mike, let's get back to the show sheet here. And a name you've mentioned quite a few times tonight is Dalton Schultz. What were your thoughts on his performance last night?
It showed he's not worth paying. You get him in there against the decent defenses and he kind of goes away. It just is what it is. Those linebackers in San Francisco are no joke. And he just isn't dynamic enough. Like if you're going to pay a guy like that, a good veteran can do what he does, find his own, be open for your quarterback, do this and that. But if you're really paying a guy, I want him to be able to help CeeDee Lamb and Tony Pollard explosively. and he just can't do that. And so I can't justify tagging and paying him again. I see why you did it here, because good Lord, if we didn't have Dalton Schultz, we'd have been in real bad shape going up into this game. But overall, he doesn't bring enough to the table athletically and big play wise to make him worth re-signing.
And then not only that, but he's an awful blocker. Yesterday, he was just getting washed up.
He's bad. He's not a good blocker. Like the two young guys, it's sad they missed Hendershot in that game. They missed his playmaking ability. They really did.
Yeah. I mean, McKeon looked better at some points in the game yesterday than Schultz did.
I have a feeling next year you're going to see Ferg, Hendershot, Schultz. McKeon as your three guys.
I don't hate that, as long as we don't pay Schultz. You know what I mean?
Yeah, me neither.
Obviously,
Ferguson could put up 60 receptions and 700 yards, like 4 touchdowns.
Absolutely, yeah, no question about that. Okay, we talked a lot about the talent, Mike, of the Niners offense, so I think it's okay to skip this question as far as, because we talked about the talent comparison between the two teams. Our next question would be is the San Francisco defense. Do you think that their defense outperformed the Dallas defense?
This one, I came up with this because I really struggled with it, because at face value, you go, well, they made their picks. They made their 2 interceptions. So yeah, they did. But think about like the difference in the Dallas defense had to go against, all right, stop McCaffrey running, stop McCaffrey receiving, stop Debo running, stop Debo receiving. Oh, Ayuk came into his own this year. He's really good. Oh, by the way, you know who the best tight end on the field is? Not the franchise guy. No, George Kittle. Oh, we're going to bring in Elijah Mitchell too. See that left tackle? Yeah. I mean, Micah's doing fine, but we got a guy that could go against him. You better put him on the other side sometimes, because Trent's a monster. And so I look at the defense and I say, compared to for what, half the game, you got CeeDee Lamb, and what did Niners have to stop? T.Y. Hilton, who was wide open all the time and not looked at. Like, I got to say that they performed evenly. The Niners defense performed better and got the turnovers. But what Dallas did with no offense, like getting worn down, having to try to stay with all those weapons, and a team that averaged 35 points a game under Brock Purdy couldn't get to 20, and 6 of those, the Dallas offense spotted them with turnovers.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I got to say they both performed evenly, in my opinion.
I kind of like the question before we changed it, Mike, where did the San Francisco defense outperform the Dallas offense? I felt like that was a good question.
I would answer that with yes, they did. Although T.Y. Hilton was open quite often. That I don't know how they knew like Dak wasn't going to throw to him. Like I don't know how they knew that, because he was just open all the time. They were basically saying like, this is the guy you can go to if you want to.
Yeah. You kind of touched on that, Mike, but, they were able to capitalize on their turnovers when given the chance. They were better on third down, and they allowed less than 80 rushing yards and less than 300 total yards. Again, I know when you think about the pieces that Dallas had to deal with as opposed to the pieces that San Francisco had to deal with, I just kind of feel like when it mattered most, they came up with the plays,
No, I agree.
All right, this is probably the, an easy answer here, because we've talked a lot about it, but is Dak solely responsible for this loss?
It stinks because there's no one technically, right? There's no one solely responsible. You could say like the special teams missed an extra point. Turpin could have returned the ball for a touchdown instead of, a big gain. Dallas could have not allowed a 90-yard drive, or Diggs could have picked the ball off, So sure, technically there was differences that could have changed the outcome of the game. Overall, though, when you look at the macro of it. The defense held them to 19 points, 6 of them being off turnovers. Like that offense. The special teams made their field goals. One kick got blocked. He would have missed that extra point, by the way. But one kick got blocked. He made his field goals. Turpin was having great returns all night. Maybe not perfect returns, but great returns.
Yeah.
And then there was Dak's play. Like it wasn't even up to what we expect of him. Like it was just not a good performance. And, I could also say Ezekiel Elliott, or the front office for keeping Ezekiel Elliott another year or whatever. But I would say it's fair to say if Dak plays better, we win. And he just didn't. He didn't play well.
We definitely expect Dak to play better. I mean, there's no question about that. I myself have not watched the All-22, so I can't compare. But when I know that you say you watched it and Dak played a bad game, then I have full confidence in what you're saying and what you're seeing.
And I love Dak.
Yeah, of course. This is a Dak-friendly podcast.
Mm-hmm. I love the guy. I'm not looking to cut him. I'm saying
no.
We know what he is. I don't want to move on for him. I need my GM to know what he is and to do what he needs to do accordingly to build teams that can win around him. He's not Mahomes and Burrow. So stop building a team like he is. Do your job and build a better team around him, or move on and hope the next guy you get is a tier above him.
There were times in the game, Mike, when I was sitting there watching the game, I'm like, what is Dak doing? What's going on? So I can only imagine, seeing the All-22 and kind of getting a different view of the game and without all the distractions with the noise and stuff, and then like just seeing the plays developing and everything. I have full confidence in you and what you're saying about Dak. So it really stinks, man, because again, this is a Dak-friendly podcast. I mean, Dak's been my guy since his rookie year. I've always wanted to re-sign him. I've always believed in him. It just, it really stinks for him, man, because a guy like that you want to see win. But to think that he didn't win, and then also him being like the biggest reason that he didn't win it's a hard pill to swallow.
It stinks. It really is. Like, I hate it. I hate it so much. I just want them to build it now. You know what you need, get it done. There are a few pieces away from being the juggernaut that San Francisco and the badass team that the Philadelphia Eagles are. They're real close, as evidenced by this game, as bad as their quarterback play. So, they're close. They need to go do what needs to get done.
I think we touched on the question, what does this do? What does this game do for Dak's legacy? Am I wrong, Mike?
I did, but I'd like to know if you had anything to add to, like, how do you feel about Dak's legacy, as of now? Like, who knows what's going to happen in 5 years?
I mean, Mike, one of the things that's been said about Dak all season is that he can't win the big game. And I mean, I think we saw yesterday that he wasn't able to do that. And what do we have to prove those people who say that wrong?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. When Tom comes on with us again and he says, I think Jalen Hurts is better than Dak. In my mind, I'm going, yikes, in my head. But when I try to construct an argument, it's not Jalen Hurts' fault that he has all these weapons. He still has to use them. Gardner Minshew came in, they went, 0-3 or something like that? Like, they were no good with him. So I understand when Tom says, some guys got it, some guys don't. And in my head, I'm like, well, I don't know if Hurts got it. Like, yeah, he makes the team go with his ability in that offense. But if that offense, if it was CeeDee Lamb and Noah Brown at wide receiver and Dalton Schultz at tight end and our offensive line, does Jalen Hurts play the same in that offense? I don't think he does, but I can't make that argument. You can't make the argument, hey, that's not fair to Dak. His team didn't build a good enough team around him. Like, that offense, that argument just makes your quarterback look worse, really.
Yeah. So you look at the teams remaining in the playoffs, Mike. What is the difference between Dallas and the 4 teams remaining in the playoffs?
It's simple. The GM did a better job of building the offenses around those teams. I mean, Joe Burrow, Boyd, Chase, Higgins. They lost the tight end that the kid liked, whose name I'm not even going to try to say. Went out and got a good vet in Hayden Hurst to play underneath. Joe Mixon on that offense. They went and rebuilt the offensive line. And the funny thing is, early on when they were trying to get continuity, the team was suffering. The minute that offensive line started to hit his stride, that team took off. Kansas City rebuilt their offensive line in a day. Traded Tyreek Hill, couldn't sign him. Went out and got Scantling and went out and got guys to play roles. Drafted Sky Moore. We know what Eagles did. They didn't even know if they had a quarterback. They said, we're going to give him the best chance he can. And he's been at MVP level. And then Niners, they have a third string. They have Mr. Irrelevant, third string rookie. And their roster is so talented that they beat a pretty damn good Dallas team. So the difference is the rosters, especially offensively, are more stacked in the top 4 teams in Dallas.
Yeah, and you also think about it, Mike. I mean, those teams kind of know their identity. I mean, of course, Dallas, they knew what they wanted to do, play good defense and run the ball. But, man, you think about the running backs on those teams. Of course, you've got Joe Mixon, but their identity is not to run the ball. It's not really to play good defense. It's like we're going to build around our quarterbacks and put him in a position to win. Dallas didn't do that, man. So I had a different answer, but I'm going to actually say I'm going to change. I'm going to say self-awareness.
Yeah. Yep. And for those, talking about like Mahomes is the rare bird. The other 3 quarterbacks are low money. I understand that. That's a thing we have to see how they do once our quarterbacks get paid. But now we know. So going forward, if you come up with James Tolbert or you come up with James Washington as your answers, there's an issue. You're not doing it right. Like, it's going to go on you now. We know what the quarterback is. It's up to you to help elevate him.
Absolutely. And when you look at the 4 remaining teams, Mike, are those the best teams in the NFL, you think?
Definitely. Loaded teams.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. All right, Mike, here we are with a view from the sidelines. And you've talked about it a little bit, but what did you see from our receivers not named CeeDee Lamb after watching the All-22?
There weren't really any. All of them except Gallup need to be replaced. And the only reason Gallup gets a pass is because he had a major surgery at the very end of the prior year. He didn't get an off season, really. He never felt like Michael Gallup. So now the off season, fully healthy, get it going, reinvigorate yourself and see what you are. This contract that he's in as a 2-year out. So if he comes in next year and is playing like he did this year, he's going to get cut.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess the only thing you would have to say about T.Y. Hilton is that he was just constantly open, obviously.
I want him back. After watching the thing, he's a guy that I'm like, just try to, I don't know why he would come back. When you get that over and don't get the ball, it's got to be frustrating. But I'm trying to get that guy back, period.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind it either, man. I mean, I'll never forget that 3rd and 30 play, but he just kind of seems like he would be a good mentor to younger guys, and clearly he still is finding a way to get open. So nothing wrong with bringing a guy like that back.
He can play slot and outside too, which is really important so CD can do the same.
Yeah. What about did you see anything from Noah Brown? What kind of game did he have?
No, nothing. He didn't even block well. He missed a few blocks. Like, moment was too big for him. He's a special teamer, just what he is. He's a special teamer. He played some good games with Cooper Rush because they were used to each other. There's no reason for him not to sign elsewhere now.
Gotcha. Okay, Mike, here we are with one word. And this week we're going to use the Dallas Cowboys season. The Dallas Cowboys 22 season was blank.
Progressive.
Oh, I like that.
The offensive line got better. CeeDee Lamb got better. The defense got better. The team went further. The team found a way to win without Dak. They found a way to win without Tyron. They found a way to win with limited weapons. And now it's about progressing again. Zeke goes. Pollard stays. Get another speed playmaker. Get a dynamic tight end. Or stick with the three you got. I like them. But if one drops, you either need a speed playmaking wide receiver or a big play tight end. And then go to your defense. You need to improve your DT, and you need to get more depth at corner. So you know what you need to do, whether it's drafting them all and praying that they all hit, or signing a few of them and drafting the rest. You know what you need to do.
So, Mike, I was listening to Jeff Kavanaugh because I haven't listened to him in a while. I watched his YouTube videos in a while for whatever reason. I was listening to him and Jesse Holley. They had Daryl the Moose Johnson on to talk about this game, and I'm still in my answer from Moose, but the Dallas Cowboys 2022 season was inconsistent.
That's great. That's exactly what that's the best descriptor for this year.
Yeah, I thought so too. I mean, I tried to be different, but I was like, man, he really hit the nail on the head with that.
No, that's exactly what it was. I mean, we win 2, lose 1. Win 2, lose 1. Win 4, lose 1. Win 2, lose 1. Win 2, lose 1, lose 4. Like that's how it went all year. They seem to that this team should have been the 1 seed. If Jacksonville, forget Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers got you. If you hold on to Jacksonville, you play your guys in Washington and you play a real game, you're facing the Giants, in the playoffs.
Yeah.
The Giants. And you're probably in the NFC Championship game hosting either the Niners or the Eagles right now.
Right. Well, what could have been, man?
I know. It's too bad.
All right, so let's lighten things up a bit, Mike. A couple weeks ago, we ranked our favorite, comedy films of the 90s, correct? So I thought, in spirit of this episode, to at least finish it off on a strong note, on a happy note, we would rank our favorite comedies from the 2000 to 2010. I'm excited for this conversation, man. I know I had to write down a lot of movies and I had to trim up the list about 3 times. So I'm excited to see what you got.
It was tough, but this one was easier because I stuck to my rules of one Will Ferrell, one of the Adam Sandler guys' movies, stuff like that. Yeah. So, it was the ones that were tough was deciding which one in that grouping. Like to start me off at 5, you have the group that brings you 40-Year-Old Virgin, Knocked Up, and Super Bad. And
yes,
I'm
sir,
like,
yes, sir.
I can only pick one of those 3. I picked Super Bad.
Ooh, great one.
But man, I feel like I'm switching it right now because the one that I liked more than Super Bad that me and Mitchell just talk about all the time is This Is the End.
Oh, so great, dude.
The apocalypse, they play themselves. It's absolutely brilliant. Danny McBride, what he did to I remember an interview and he's like people think I'm married, I'm like a family man, I'm like a really genuinely good guy, I'm a good dad. He's like everybody just thinks I'm a piece of shit because they keep putting me as these characters, and then in this movie they just name me and make me that character. Like I don't get to be anything even close to real me. I'm like he's like, Seth Rogen is really a stoner. James Franco's really a stoner. Like they're really buddies. Like Jonah Hill is kind of really in their circle of friends. Everything. I'm like an asshole cannibal who uses everybody's food. And I got a caricature of my other characters put in. Him having Channing Tatum as the Gimp, and the thing with the Snickers where he's
the Milky Way.
The Milky Way. Yeah, where he's First of all, they do this whole scene where he's like, the Milky Way is my special treat. And, I got it for this and that. And then everybody's like, well, you shouldn't get the whole Milky Way. And the guy's like, yeah, man, I'd be pretty disappointed if I didn't at least get a bite of that Milky Way. And the thing that makes it funny is like, James Franco didn't even get the Milky Way. If you're paying attention earlier, it wasn't even him. And he's like, it's my special treat. It's like, that movie is like so funny. So I'm going, This Is the End tops all those other ones as my favorite, like the Seth Rogen comedy. Now, the question is...
Great answer, though, man. I love that answer so much.
What year did This Is the End come out?
I feel like
it was 2013.
Oh.
All right. Then I say Superbad. Moving on.
Fair. What about Where Are You At with Forgetting Sarah Marshall?
Great one. Another great one. But I love You Man more.
I was going to say, I thought you were going to have I Love You Man on this list, honestly.
I couldn't get it on there, man. And Paul Rudd is...
That's your guy.
My favorite. But my list, I promise you, will be completely different than everybody else's because I'm weird. Matter of fact, God dang. It's probably not even super bad. Hold on. What year did Nacho Libre come out?
Oh, Lord. I almost have that on
2006. Nacho Libre is funnier than Superbad. That for me.
Stop.
So, Nacho Libre is ahead of for Superbad.
All right.
I just love that movie.
That's a great one, man. It's a classic, dude. It really is. Doesn't get enough love.
Yeah, and all of mine are basically going to be like that.
All right. Mike, number 5 on my list. I mean, this is laugh out loud. I haven't watched it in years, but I watched it a lot. Borat.
Oh, yes. Yeah. What is our boy's name? Isla Fisher's husband. He's literally Borat. That's how everybody knows him, but he's actually turned into quite an actor.
Sacha Baron Cohen.
Sacha Baron Cohen. Really turned into something other than just the little like weird comedy guy, like characters guy. Man, he did some crazy stuff in that movie. Like the way he flipped society by faking this character, it's like he did a documentary on our society, but did it as a comedy so that we could laugh at ourselves. Mm-hmm. But he was kind of like, shame, guys. It was brilliantly executed. That's a good choice.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. Number 4, Mike, you actually replaced it on your list just now, but I'm going with Superbad, my friend.
Oh, Superbad's on there, on yours.
Yes, sir. Of course.
Oh, okay.
I love Superbad, dude. I mean, I still quote that. I mean, not a lot, but when I have an opportunity, I quote it every time.
Oh, it is. There's a reason it was right there to be on the list. I just the Nacho. I forgot Nacho Libre came out, and it has so many. It's so like dumb. It's the comedy that I like. That's like dumb. It's just dumb. I hate all orphans. You don't hate all the orphans. You're just a little kid. You're mad and you're being a little kid. Like it's stuff like that like certain lines in movies that are like so all time. Like I'll get frustrated with my brother and be like, I hate all the orphans in the whole world. And it basically is me going, I'm frustrated right now because you don't hate orphans. You don't. You literally work there to help them. Like, so Superbad, deserving. Yeah. Maybe even overall funnier movie. I'm putting Nacho Libre in because it's more fits my type of comedy stuff.
Totally fair, sir. All right, what's number 4 on your list?
Number 4 is, okay, let me ask you. I tell you this is my Will Ferrell selection. Give me the first 2 movies you would think of if I tell you this is my Will Ferrell one.
Step Brothers and Talladega Nights.
Okay, and that's the 2. And I love them both. And my choice was the other guys.
Oh my! Wait, did that come out that came out before 2010? Man, do you know who Dr. Thunder?
Hold on.
Do you know who Dr. Thunder Rules is?
What year did the other guys come out? I did no research for this. 2010. Ha! It did. Okay, good. My answer
Is this
sticks
Mitch?
with the other guys. I
Is Mitch
hate
Dr. Thunder.
Get that corn out of my face, Dr. Thunder rules.
Hey, the other guys is, man, so good, dude.
Oh, just right away when he's all aim for those bushes, and you're like, "What's going on right here?" And did they leap off a building and they just splattered to their death? Like the two biggest stars in the movie dead in the first few minutes. And then it just gets the thing with him like with Ava not Ava Longoria. What is her name?
Ava Mendez.
Ava Mendez with him like, what? No, seriously, guys, you're gonna tell me who this is? Like, does not believe that that's his wife, and he's so shitty to her. Like, that's what you're gonna dress in? You're gonna dress like that? We have company over. Like, it's Ava Mendez, bro. Like the hottest female on the planet. What are we doing here? So. It's brilliant. The other oh God, where the guy's running out, get back here and fuck my wife. We're 10 miles away or whatever. Dude, I can't, bro. I can't with that movie. But most people
so good, dude.
Step Brothers. I mean, and rightfully so. They're amazing. Talladega Nights is. Don't even get me started. I friggin' love that movie. It makes it. If I wasn't just picking one Will Ferrell movie, it makes it. But
what's the one him and Woody Harrelson, Andre 3000? They're on the basketball team.
I'm in that movie.
No,
swear I'm one of the extras in the crowd. Me and Muhammad went when they filmed the ending to the movie, which kind of blew it for us because we knew how the movie ended. That movie's called Semi-Pro.
That one's so good too, dude.
Oh, it's brilliant. We're in the crowd for the ending segments of that movie. We're there in that crowd, me and Muhammad both.
That's awesome, man.
And that I have no idea if you can see us, but we are in the arena when that's being shot. We're some of the extras.
Like, so I mean, would your name be in the extras? Like on the credits?
I have no idea. We're in there, but we may not have been like focused on camera. If there's a zoom out of the crowd, then we're there somewhere, but we're not like, they don't zoom into our facial expressions,
Obviously, yeah. That's so freaking cool, dude.
Yeah, it's a nice little, I should have said that one just so I could tell that story. Thank you for getting that in there.
Yes, sir. All right, so we're at number 3, correct?
And that's me, number 3?
Yes, sir. Number 3, you.
Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, good one.
It's another like Nacho Libre, weird. Some people just have never even seen the movie, but most people that see it, it's so brilliant. It's so unique. There's not stuff like it. And it's his dancing, the tots. He said like he's the worst liar like ever. Like, why do you lie about the stuff you lie about? Like his stuff with hunting with a bow staff. Like, no, you didn't. No, you did not ever hunt with a bow staff or anything. Or like, I love the karate guy when he tells him to go, give me your first move. And this guy does a reverse leg sweep backwards, like the slowest kick, just gets smacked in the back of his head. I love Napoleon Dynamite. That movie's so good.
That's a great one, man. Number 3 on my list, Mike, Grandma's Boy.
Oh, all right. I'm gonna give one away, but that's on my list.
Oh, really?
That's my Adam Sandler because it's by those people, by the Adam Sandler group, same producers and stuff.
Yeah.
One of the funniest movies of all time. Forget 2010.
Yeah.
It would probably make my top 5 comedies for like how much I laughed. It's weird. It's hilarious. I can't even start. There's so much funny into this movie. The dude, the weird ass dude who's like hiding against the wall. Like, how did he see me? Like, what? Them competing. What does that mean? High score.
Dance Revolution.
Dance. When the monkey's driving drive, monkey. And it's like the worst green screen of all time. I couldn't recommend, especially if you smoke weed. Like that movie is before I started smoking.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that movie came out before I started smoking.
Dude, I never knew that it was actually in theaters. Apparently it bombed, like, because Nick Swartzen tweeted out, he's like, this movie bombed in theaters, but then y'all found it on DVD, and that's amazing. That's crazy to me.
I saw it in theaters, and it was so funny. I forced Muhammad, his wife, and their mom to go see it. And Stephanie, Muhammad's wife, was bitching in the theater. Why are we seeing this stupid movie? Nobody saw it. Then after the movie, she was like, my bad. I will not go against you again. She was like, that was hilarious. And I was like, thank you.
So, Mike, was that number 2 on your list?
That's 2. So you have
here we are, big reveal. Number 1.
My number 1 is Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, really? Okay.
I love Edgar Wright for one. He's an absolute genius. And I grew up on zombie movies. Like George A. Romero was my guy. Like me and Mitchell, we have zombie everything. Like, so to do a satire on zombies, and then I love the 2. I call them Ed and Sean, but it's Simon Pegg and I'm blanking on his name, but they're in Hot Fuzz together. Those 2 and Edgar Wright have done a series of movies, and Shaun of the Dead is just the way he takes on, like, no, seriously, like most people wouldn't even fucking know a zombie apocalypse was coming out for a long ass time. This fool walks to the store in the middle of the zombie apocalypse and is so like on his phone, doesn't even notice like zombies coming up to him. The store clerk's dead with blood spots, handprints around. It is so funny. I love that. I can't not watch that movie when it comes on. I absolutely think it's one of the most brilliantly written movies of all time. And I feel like the reason it hits with me is I would be Simon Pegg, he would be Ed Mitchell, and that would be us during a zombie apocalypse at that time that movie came out. We sat in the room, played video games all the time. We'd probably have no clue. We wouldn't have even turned on the TV to have a clue that anything was going on because we'd be sitting there playing Madden together. Like it was, I love that movie. So yeah, that's my top. Shaun of the Dead. I told you my list would be different than anybody's.
Oh, it's your list, buddy. I'm glad it's different.
Yeah, I have it.
A full exposure. I've never seen Shaun of the Dead.
What? It's Edgar Wright. Are you familiar? Yeah. Like Edgar, Baby Driver?
Love Baby Driver.
Yeah, he's that director. But what he does in his older movies, the ones with Simon Pegg in them. Have you seen Hot Fuzz?
No.
Okay. And World's End is the other one. So what he does is he takes something and he makes this kind of movie a certain way out of it. And then 3/4 through the way through the movie, he flips it on you and totally turns it into some other type of movie. And it's really genius. Like Shaun of the Dead's a comedy for 3/4. Nah, Shaun of the Dead's pretty much comedy throughout. But there's enough like action in there with the zombie stuff. But like, dude, it's so good. Like it's so like the zombies are breaking into the bar. And he's like, okay, we have this gun, shoot. And he's like firing. And it's like, yeah, if we were all doing it, we wouldn't be headshotting every zombie. He's like, he hits like one, he has like 7 to 10 bullets and he hits like one, kills like one zombie with it. Like he's horrible. He's like the worst shot. And it's like, yeah, because that's how we would be. We wouldn't be able to shoot normal, let alone like, oh my God, I'm going to die. It's a zombie apocalypse. And it's just, yeah, I highly recommend you watch Shaun of the Dead. It's brilliant.
I'll have to check that out. So, Mike, I did get a bit ahead of myself. You have already done with your list. and I have yet to reveal number 2 on mine or number 1, obviously. So I'll get to that. Number 2 on my list. I mean, it's pretty obvious, but if you don't shoot Big Red, then F you. What is that from?
Oh, Talladega Nights. Brilliant. That is my favorite line from that movie, too. You don't chew Big Red, then fuck you. The worst.
You'll probably be able to guess. Yeah, you'll be able to guess this next one, I'm sure, but go for it.
No, I was gonna go. Don't let the fire burn. Don't let the invisible fire burn my friend. Him showing up and John C. Riley's heads over his family portrait. It's like, I've been gone a few hours. The guy's moving. It's genius, dude. All right, give me.
I love the outtakes on that are great too.
Oh, they're equally as good as the movie. They're
oh yeah.
Cut around the meat. Like, what? The knife cut around the meat. Like, no, dude, you're cutting the leg more. What do you like? It's brilliant, dude. It is genius.
So good. All right, number 1. Pretty obvious, Mike, but man, I had to go with Step Brothers, sir.
Oh, nice. You went back to back, Will Ferrell. Mine, they all would have made this top 5. I would have moved them down, but mine goes other guys, Talladega Nights, and then Step Brothers. Those are my 3 of the Will Ferrells from the 2010. But like, line them up, dude. They're all brilliant. Step Brothers is it's like one of the funniest movies of all time.
My buddy Prescott, we saw him on Friday. He commented on the episode. His girl does not like Will Ferrell.
Instant breakup.
Right?
Like, it's not going to work out. I don't know.
Prescott, if you're listening, man, don't break up with LD. We love LD.
No. But how long have they been together?
I want to say since 2012 or 13, I believe.
You've been around her for almost a decade and she doesn't like Will Ferrell? It's starting to come around, though. Well, that's not true because Spirited was really good. I was going to say, Will Ferrell's had some ones lately. So maybe she helped you out, like, I didn't have to see Holmes and Watson, But
yeah.
But Spirited with him and Ryan Reynolds is pretty damn good. So just get her on the Will Ferrell train. What's the matter with her? You're a terrible person, whatever your name is.
It's not true, Matt. I love LD. She's wonderful. Well, Mike, I'm glad we were able to get a couple laughs in tonight, man. I needed it.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. I forgot, that this was depressing.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm already on the off season. That's how it is. It was like, Katie's like, all right, here we go. I got to start going through like, who would I bring back? Who would I let go? Why? Look for that to come out sometime in the next week. I'm going to be going through that.
We'll look forward to that, Mike. Before we get you out of here, remind the people they can find you on Twitter.
At CD Piglet, guys. Nice and easy.
Guys, I'm Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. We appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.
Dude, million. Can't ever